You're listening to Breakdown FM, where ladies don't strip, they ride first class.
Can you relate to a sister dope enough to make you holler and scream?
What the deal, yo? This is your girl, Queen Latifah, original flavor unit, Jersey's finest. Where else you gonna get the hottest sounds around?
Breakdown FM.
Davey D hanging out with you this afternoon, and we are in the lovely city of Baltimore. We are talking to somebody who is doing it real big out on the East Coast. She is from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We know her, we love her. Her name is Kellee Maize, and she is one of the people we want to spotlight as we spotlight women who are doing it big in 2008. Kellee Maize, of course, has a new album out called Age of Feminine, but she's much more than just an album. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. You know, let's kind of introduce yourself to people listening. I know in the city of Pittsburgh, we mentioned Kellee Maize's name. People know you. But in other places, it might be who? Kellee who? So let's kind of, take them on a little journey. How long have you been in the game, and what are some of the things that highlight what you're about?
All right, well, I grew up in the center of Pennsylvania, sort of nondescript area, the middle of Pennsylvania. They say, there's Pittsburgh and there's Philadelphia and sort of Alabama in between, and that definitely kind of describes my upbringing. I have two very loving parents, sort of abnormal to have parents that were so open-minded. I'm adopted, so they kind of, I think, felt that they always kind of had to keep my eyes sort of open and not ever... sort of accept everybody. It was definitely a different kind of upbringing given my the area where I was from, not diverse at all. And I kind of came into this sense of myself through hip-hop, actually, because I learned a lot about the world and about, the ills of the world through listening to hip-hop. And I fell in love with Pittsburgh. I went there when I was 16. My boyfriend's family was living there at the time, and fell in love with the city and came to Pitt. Went there for 4 years and had plans I was always performing, and I had plans to be a promoter and perform, go to New York, wanted to go somewhere even bigger, and I just couldn't leave the Steel City. It was like a magnet. Every time I, had a big idea to go, I just couldn't get out. I couldn't leave.
Now, you said earlier that your upbringing, you lived in a neighborhood and it wasn't all that diverse. You are Caucasian, European American. So was it mostly black or Latino? No. Or was it all white?
All white. I mean, it was.
What's the racial dynamics like in a place like Pittsburgh?
In Pittsburgh, I don't really know the exact, demographical information, but I mean, it's very segregated. There's definitely, it's pretty much black and white. There's very small Latino population, at least as far as I know, very small Indian population, and it's, kind of very segregated in terms of the neighborhoods that are black, the neighborhoods that are white. And there's some city neighborhoods that are starting to kind of become more diverse, but it is pretty filthy segregated.
With you getting into hip-hop and music, was that unusual? Where you looked at like, well, what the hell is this white girl doing in this? Or was, had hip-hop diversified itself enough that it was just kind of the norm for you to be a part of whatever was going on?
No, not at all. I mean, I grew up with a very strong sort of music background. My mom was really into funk and soul, 70s kind of music, and my dad was actually a country through and through country music listener, and I was always writing rhymes in my head. Like I had to sort of entertain myself a lot of the time growing up. I was always surrounded by boys, and I would be singing and writing rhymes in my head all the time. And once I sort of discovered hip-hop and that genre of, being able to express yourself in a way that is personal, I just was constantly making music for myself, really. It was like a way to kind of like deal with whatever was going on in my head. I was always like a super emotional person, and so when I came to Pittsburgh and really started expressing that, and I had performed my whole life, really. I was always up on stage singing and whatnot, and I was not really greeted with open arms at first. I got in with a lot of artists and musicians in Pittsburgh right off the bat that were making music, but it was definitely kind of like a crooked eye, like what's she doing? It was definitely an interest. But as soon as I'm coming from the heart, so I think that as soon as people just took a second to realize that I was really saying something, that it wasn't just some superficial bullshit like I'm trying to get paid, there was something deeper.
Well, let's take a listen to a song off your album, Major Feminine. This deals with your life. Mm-hmm. What's the name of this song, and set us up as we get ready to listen to it.
Okay, well, I guess Story of Me would be the chosen one. That's sort of, I guess, the autobiographical track. It's really kind of an explanation, really, in a lot of ways, because I think that I can be very easily misunderstood. I'm out here, I'm a promoter. I run my own company, an all-female company, and I do have a background that most people, when I moved to Pittsburgh, not only was it like, who's this white girl making rap music, but it was also sort of like, who's this girl who's not even from Pittsburgh? I got a lot of that, and I think it was important for me to just kind of let people know that it doesn't matter where you're from. It's about what you're doing and where you're at and where you're headed and what you believe. And so it's a way for me to kind of let people know where I'm coming from. The misconceptions that have sort of followed me, I'm just trying to let people know what the real deal is.
Here it is, Story of Me. We'll be right back.
Transplant, I heard it from the people of the town. They call me hippie, transplant, but now you know the real story of me. Hippie, transplant, I heard it from the people of the town. They call me hippie, transplant, maybe you'll hear your story in me. Birth mother never gave me a chance. I found her after a long 24-year absence. Like mother, like daughter, she say she like to dance. And like the first day of my birth, out my life she pranced. Birth father don't even know that I exist. The true mother couldn't conceive, she full of cysts. I almost died 2 times, had thoughts of slitting wrists. Don't know my heritage, life so full of twists and turns. Watch mom morph into a skeleton that burns. From radiation, God was foretelling the urn. I would fill with dead parent, mind swelling, concerned about the cancer sticks, they still selling them. Ma lived, but daddy did die. I watch him go, will never forget the last breath there. When his soul slaving every day to make sure that I could eat. Bare hugs and pure love, I cried for a week at his feet, fighting for his honor, his pain, his generosity. Taught me to never judge and to value reciprocity. I feel his eyes looking down on me. You were the world to me. R.I.P. Daddy, R.I.P. Hippie, transplant, I heard it from the people of the town. They call me hippie, transplant, but now you know the real story of me. Hippie, transplant, I heard it from the people of the town. They call me hippie, transplant, maybe you'll hear your story in me. Finding hip-hop was like finding my soul. Was dancing before I could walk the country and rock and roll. Wrote my first rhyme in Central PA at 9 years old, but never let it out of that white trash mold. As a kid, Pops had me wearing the black and gold team. Took a visit to Pittsburgh at age 16. Remember seeing the tall buildings and how they gleam. I wanna be here, something drew me, know what I mean? Taking on the world so full of anxieties. A self-medicated girl with big city dreams. Flying on a saucer to Saturn, my moonbeams. They thinking I fucked someone to get here, please. Hit a 412, I'm finally home, kid. Mama's in the factory, I gotta make it big. Needle in the arm of mad people back home. No jobs like the city, some spots a war zone. Hippie, transplant, I heard it from the people of the town. They call me hippie, transplant, but now you know the real story of me. Hippie, transplant, I heard it from the people of the town. They call me hippie, transplant, maybe you'll hear your story in me. And about the name, most just call me Kellee Maize. As I set the crowd
the blaze that been my legal for all my days. Mama says she spelled it different, and she set the stage for her health and happiness. To my God I praise. Back in 98 when beat came before Bonics, he named me Kel Della Kel in a cloud full of chronic. Some shortened to daylight cause they slow from hydroponic. They call me Killer Kill when I had too much vodka tonic. My man named me Apocalypse Crane, it ain't demonic. It's all about the change I wanna see, it's harmonic. Hand in my pocket with peace sign, ain't it ironic? But I'ma go with Kellee Maize cause it sounds supersonic. And I've been popular since the start of my life. And if you know my name, I hope you be that real peaceful type. I'm about the movement, plain and simple, don't believe all the hype. The gossip and my stop, we gon' turn all the wrong to right. Word on the street is I work 80 hours a week and don't sleep. And I don't want your man, I got one and he's sweet. My kernel ain't moving slow, and no, I do not blow. This manic brain is full of flow. If you don't know, now you know.
Hippie, transplant, I heard it from the people of the town. They call me hippie, transplant, but now you know the real story of me. Hippie, transplant, I heard it from the people of the town. They call me hippie, transplant, maybe you'll hear your story in me. Hippie, transplant, I heard it from the people of the town. They call me hippie, transplant, but now you know the real story of me. Hippie, tramp and fiend, I heard it from the people of the town. They call me hippie, tramp and fiend, maybe you'll hear your story in me.
So there we have it. We've been listening to the song Story of Me. You're coming really hard with that and following in the tradition of a lot of MCs that, you know, feel compelled to put their life story down on wax. What was the feedback you got from this? Were people feeling you? Were they like, wow, I didn't know you went through this? What was the deal?
Well, actually, it's interesting because I did, when I was first coming out in Pittsburgh and doing promotions, and I was doing a lot of background vocals. I was singing with people. I was writing maybe 16 bars here and there. So people knew I was an artist, but they didn't really necessarily respect me as an artist. They respected me as a promoter, as somebody who supported other artists, but it wasn't about, you know, anything beyond that. And I think a lot of people maybe questioned my intentions. And it's interesting, after my CD came out, this was the song that people, you know, came up to me and mentioned and said, like, I was feeling that, like, I appreciated knowing where you came from and what you're about. So, I mean, it was really positive, and I definitely am glad that it was a song that just came out of me. And I had been for a long, long time trying to decide. I was in love with Cher's song, Hippies, Tramps, and Thieves, since I was a little girl, and I always really related to that because she's talking about the issue of unplanned pregnancy. And I've always related to that, obviously, because I am a product of such, and was really feeling like that was the song. And my man Edan, ID Labs in Pittsburgh, he made this track for me, and it was just like the minute I heard it, it all just came out of me, you know, like a channeling, really. So,
you know, one of the things, we're talking with Kellee Maize, spotlighting females who are doing it big in 2008. She is one of many around the country who are, I think, part of a movement, even if they haven't connected the dots themselves. Just being in the position that I'm in, I get a chance, and I'm seeing that there's a lot of women that have really been on a path and kind of changing the direction that the mainstream is pushing and redefining hip-hop for themselves. One of the things that I've noticed, and when I think of names, I think of people like Jennifer Johns out of Oakland, and Mystic in L.A., and, you know, Medusa down in Los Angeles as well. And yeah, I got to give Mystic her props in the Bay. We know her in L.A., but she's from the Bay. But, you know, Julie C. in Seattle, and, you know, we can go on and on just naming off a lot of women that are, you know, kind of stepping into their own over the past couple of years. The thing that I notice is that most of y'all rap and sing, you know, and how is that just following in somebody's footsteps? Is that just a natural expression? And what do we say to those people that's like, well, you're not supposed to sing if you're doing hip-hop? You know?
Well, I mean, I think the reason for it is maybe just because I know that I personally grew up singing, and it was something that it was like, you know, she can't shut up, like, let's teach her some tunes, she has a nice voice and whatnot. So for me, it was really just about, using all sides of myself and really expressing. I love to sing, and I grew up singing all the time. So I think that it's just a diversity of women. Our voice is something that has been, I think our mothers and our DNA deep down, the restriction that we felt for so long is finally coming out. And that movement that you're talking about, to me, is, I'm a very spiritually based person. Over the last 6 or 7 years, I've become really, really in tune with that side of myself. And I do believe that it is a movement. I believe that there's a serious lack of feminine energy on this planet. Singing is a way to sort of let that out, because it's a sighing, it's a release that I think a lot of men feel is too feminine, and not really something that is necessary. But I think that it's a really important part of making music.
Well, it's starting to feel it.
Right, exactly.
Now, before we listen into another record off your album, talk a little bit about the title, Age of Feminine.
Well, as I was saying, I believe that we're entering, again, the spirituality of this age. We're at this point where everywhere you look, the world is, it's essentially imploding, and there's this sense of, sort of a doomsday, and that, how can we really reverse the ills that the humans have inflicted, not only on the world, but really deeply within ourselves. We are so conflicted and heavily just in chains, and I think that speaks across all races, all types of humans. Everybody has just developed this sense of deep, inability to really tap into our true selves. And I think that for me, when I named it that, it was based off of the title track, Age of Feminine, which was really about, to me, I think the only way that we are going to get ourselves out of this serious spiritual rut is if we tap into the feminine side of ourselves. And that's not just women, that's men have a feminine side. We all have a yin and yang, and we all have a side of ourselves that is compassionate and that looks at another human and does not see a separation, but really can relate. And for me, I guess it's partly a belief, because I just want to believe so much. I believe in creating your reality, and I want to believe that women and that the feminine energy will return, and that all of the disguise that society has placed over the fact that the goddess and that really at one time a feminine divine energy was present on this earth and was flourishing, and good things were happening and partnerships were being created, that will return. So my hope is, along with the age of Aquarius and all these things that are changing in our lives, we're seeing the worst right now because we're about to see something better. So that's my hope anyway.
We've been talking with Kellee Maize. Let's check out another track off her album, Age of Feminine. We'll be right back.
Time for hostile takeover. Peaceful, see that Gemini makeover, but it ain't the twins blowing up the Range Rover. I will stay sober, wishing on a clover, engaging the youth like I'm Fraggle Rockin' Rover. Marge and Homer, I'm that socialite loner, writing in the corner on my pocket PC as I hum, let it all out through the thumb. Texting on the pad, I ain't having no fun. I wanna run and I feel like the end has come. But before you agree, love, tell me why we all can't drum, pound our way to freedom. At one point I believed them that all was well. Then I felt the earth swell and I came back from hell. You could call me hell, sitting in my own cell, calling on my ladies and I'm ringing bells, ringing bells. This is revolutionary music, and you should like it and you should choose it. A lot of powers that be will misuse it, but don't lose it, it's your voice, use it. This is revolutionary music, and you should like it and you should choose it. A lot of powers that be will misuse it, but don't lose it, it's your voice, use it.
This is revolutionary music, and you should like it and you should choose it. A lot of powers that be will misuse it, but don't lose it, it's your voice, use it.
They don't care how they make a dollar. Use a child, kill a parent, do you hear me? Holla. Before we blow up, more innocent people. They be flocking to the church, bowing to the steeple, but we the ones that's evil, thinking they treating everyone equal. It's a sequel, using the name of God to fight, forgetting their values. No wrong from right, money in that Glock sight. Oil fields, their pockets tight, not giving a fuck about the poor's plight or who they indict. A third in jail each and every night. Prison industry, modern day slavery, corporations on lock and key. Big brother, he be watching me. Only privilege get to do, see. If you're lucky and you're white male, then you get to be free. This is revolutionary music, and you should like it and you should choose it. A lot of powers that be will misuse it, but don't lose it, it's your voice, use it. This is revolutionary music, and you should like it and you should choose it. A lot of powers that be will misuse it, but don't lose it, it's your voice, use it.
This is revolutionary music, and you should like it and you should choose it. A lot of powers that be will misuse it, but don't lose it, it's your voice, use it. At an early age I felt the rage surging through my veins, the pains of living with thoughts of splatter brains. You either live in hood or you're bound by chains. The white men who wish the laws had never changed. I did a couple years in a cubicle, sitting thinking, biting on my cuticle. Inexpensive living got us trapped up in a building. A bunch of angry people cramped up, you know the feeling. Got me kneeling, Hail Mary. Each day I grow weary, friends died I love dearly. I told kids to fear me, set trip but deceive me. You'll suffer, believe me. Living in hoods with no democracy. Bible collecting many of my bullets in those autopsies. Don't type Porsche on my enemy, I'd rather die tough if you befriended me. But I'm an outcast with a dirty past, with a heart of cash, blasting fast, using my door cloud as a man praying.
This is revolutionary music, and you should like it and you should choose it. A lot of powers that be will misuse it, but don't lose it, it's your voice, use it. This is revolutionary music, and you should like it and you should choose it. A lot of powers that be will misuse it, but don't lose it, it's your voice, use it.
I love this song, Revolutionary. What's the title?
It's actually called Marching.
Marching. That's what I always call it, revolutionary.
Revolutionary music, it makes sense, yeah.
One of the things about that particular song, spitting a lot of socially conscious lyrics, being a woman, attracting a woman, do you feel a pressure to move in a direction where you play up to, your feminine charms, the attractions or those types of things? And do you feel like if you go and take a socially conscious stance that it turns people off? Like, man, I'm not trying to hear you be all conscious. I'm trying to hear you, do something different, shake your thing. Or, how are people reacting to it, and where do you come from on all this?
Well, it's interesting because I didn't grow up in an environment where sexuality and where women were really looked at as objects so much. It was more of a I don't want to say it was very much a subordinate role. It wasn't so much about sexual objectivity, but it was more about, the woman is definitely subordinate to the man. So I never really I do get a lot of people. Obviously I get hit on. I get, people saying, well, if you just made music that was a little bit, more about your sexuality and whatnot, that maybe, I would appeal more. But to be honest, because I'm just coming from a true sense of feeling that the female energy and that women in general have been subordinate to something greater, that's kind of where I'm coming from. It's not really about anything more than that. However, I do think that women should embrace their sexuality and should embrace the idea of being sexual beings and being able to express themselves in the same way that men do. I think the problem is that the negativity comes in. There's so much, specifically with hip-hop today, there's so much derogatory talk, and it's like taking sex from the beauty that it is to this very, carnal, it's registering with these lower vibes. The music you hear on the radio, mainstream radio, is just got this frequency that is not, it's not meant to make people feel empowered or make people feel, like they want to respect each other. It's very volatile. It's very to me, dangerous, and it really is all about keeping us there. And I think that that's a larger social issue, and I think that, you know, the powers that be, the corporations, the, you know, whatever, they want to keep us kind of registering there, because that's how we feel shitty about ourselves and buy more shit, and, you know, it's just really a...
Keep you in consumer mode.
Exactly.
But, you know, you yourself have tried to, and to a large degree have been successful in changing that dynamic, at least in the city of Pittsburgh. Talk a little bit about Nocturnal, what that really stands for, and how that's been an uplifting movement, and, you know, a shining oasis, you know, and you know, just a music world that's often, as you said, degrading.
Mm-hmm. Well, Nocturnal was really born out of this sense that...
What is Nocturnal first?
Okay, Nocturnal is my company. I started it about 3 years ago with several females in the city of Pittsburgh. And basically, it was born out of this sense. It's an events and promotions company. So our goal is to basically, I mean, right now, the way that we're kind of making it and being able to pay the rent is by sort of taking corporate dollars and using and channeling them into supporting local artists, at the same time helping those corporations get exposure to local artists. And really to the scene that is supporting that, and that's sort of like our
those corporations don't push you to go in a certain direction, like, you know, why are you doing all this stuff with the women, or come with a little bit more street oriented, or they respect you from coming with a, you know, something that is a little bit more uplifting?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, we haven't really made too many compromises and don't plan on it. I mean, our interest is really, and it's very clear to all of our clients, that we are here because we want to give independent artists, filmmakers, designers, musicians a platform, the ability to get their work out there, because right now the music industry is so shaky and so just sort of, I mean, I don't even really, that could be a whole other conversation about the music industry, but basically there's just so little opportunity for these people out here that have something to say, and we've sort of used that power to make sure that, you know, we're getting people out there that are actually saying something that matters. So really the point, though, was that I felt, at least as a woman in the industry, in the music industry, and, you know, the art industry in general, it was very difficult to get anything accomplished, because there was this, you know, it was kind of run by all men, and there was this sense of, like, you know, I was taking over territory, or it was, you know, difficult to sort of work with me, and I was surrounded by all these women who have these amazing talents, artists, videographers, you know, promoters and whatnot, who were very disjointed. It was like everybody wanted to work together, but nobody could really make it happen, and I spent about 7 days totally you know, I wasn't on some crazy drug or anything, but I just couldn't sleep, and I wrote out this whole kind of plan of how I wanted to unite all of these women and get all these women together in a non-competitive environment to really do something big. And I saw it on a very global scale, and I saw, you know, my music being a big part of that, because I felt that, you know, really it was all about expressing who we are as individuals and making a difference, you know, and actually doing something that's really going to create a movement and create something that's, like, bigger than ourselves. And I think that that's the problem so many times in this country, where, you know, it's you know, it's separate and conquer, and, you know, just make people at odds with each other. And I think that my goal, and let me tell you, it's hard. It's very hard. Women, you know, we have a lot of young girls that we work with, and it's hard to make them even break down the barriers within our small group to work together.
Why is it so hard for women to work together? That's the stereotype. Y'all get in a room, and then, you know, the stereotype is that women can't work together, and then when you look at some of the entities and institutions that have been most degrading, ironically, they're run by women. BET, run by women. Radio 1, run by women. You know, MTV, you know what I mean? You see these women in high places, and this is, I don't know, I don't want to make it sound like we're blaming the victim, but I'm looking at that as maybe part and parcel, like, wow, you know, where does this come from? That people who collectively are oppressed can't come together. Right.
Well, I mean, I think that in terms of women, that oppression is really very much about it's like a social construct. We are sitting here in a world that is essentially run by men. And so, you know, when it comes down to it, there's cultures all across the world that are incredibly degrading to women. You know, they're one of 7 wives, or they're, you know, have to stay home. Our psyche is very, it's very torn. And I believe in sort of, you carry the DNA of your ancestors and your mother and your grandmother and people who aren't alive, and it's like, it's stuck in our brains that we are not as important. So now in this world where we really can create our own realities and go out there and get what we need to get, we need to follow this model that has been, you know, sort of ingrained in us, which is a more, you know, testosterone, you know, we've got to sort of fight our way to get there. And so
you gotta have nuts.
And there's very few positions available to women, so obviously it's going to create this insane competitive side, and it's going to make it so that, you know, if there's only one job within MTV or within whatever that probably will be held by a woman, there's, you know, 30,000 women that want that job that are sitting there in the city where it's available, and it's going to create that vibe of competition. I mean, it's really like it's a much larger thing, and capitalism is so that sense of, you know, be better than the next person is just, to me, it's not what we're supposed to be doing. It's not real, and it's not something that I think is really essential to the nature that we should be bringing forward in these next 25 years. I think that we're entering something bigger.
We've been talking with Kellee Maize out of the city of Pittsburgh. We're here in the city of Baltimore tonight, talking with her. She's going around the town doing her thing, and we're spotlighting her. Pick a record off of your album that we should go into right now.
Well, I guess Age of Feminine is probably, it's the title track, and I think that it kind of spans a lot of how I feel. You know, I may not be able to say as eloquently in my interview with you, but I think that kind of gets to the meat of the matter.
We'll be right back.
लड़कियाँ ये वक्त है, मस्तिष्क में शक्ति है. And all my ladies in the west, and all my ladies in the east, we about to take over this beat. Alright ladies, it's time to stand up. Come on fellas, take away your girl's crush. We gotta make moves, it's time to break through. It's the age of feminine, what you gon' do? Come on ladies, it's time to stand up. Alright fellas, take away your girl's crush. We gotta make moves, it's time to break through. It's the age of feminine, what you gon' do? You see this system has long been a joke. Patriarchy been killing innocent folk. Fuck the shell and the white, they saving all the yolk. Inside 360 we rep the second toke. He been on my case and I can feel him choke. They wasted our trust and now we must revoke. Will you blindly follow, snorting up that coke? That's conscious on your side, do you feel her vote? And we don't want to eat caged animals. Sick of the world, they be acting like cannibals. We don't believe in death for power. Fuck the thrill and the watchtower. Do you have the balls or are you a coward? I can hear the masters and they keep getting louder. Stop up in the pills, crushing up the powder. Believe in yourself, fuck that internal doubter. Alright ladies, it's time to stand up. Come on fellas, take away your girl's crush. We gotta make moves, it's time to break through. It's the age of feminine, what you gon' do? Come on ladies, it's time to stand up. Alright fellas, take away your girl's crush. We gotta make moves, it's time to break through. It's the age of feminine, what you gon' do?
न कोई मजनू बनी काम करवाएंगे, अपने कामयाबी से कुछ बन जाएंगे. न कोई मजनू बनी काम करवाएंगे, अपने कामयाबी से कुछ बन जाएंगे.
Two choices, take over or watch the babies die. Polluted air, gun blast, see the way they cry. You been muted, liquor shots, I can hear them sigh. Are you waiting on the devil or God for piece of pie? Me and my ladies, we been grinding teeth, practicing and preaching, we hoping to impeach. Inhale the silly seed, we suck it in deep. You been wasting my time, assuming that we creep, but I've been real far from casual. I'm a serious bitch, I'm writing a manual. Fuck the chit chat, small talk, he sound like Hannibal Lecter, or it's the weapons inspector in the U.S. Who is the real threat? I know you suspect, and while you reflect, we lethal inject with azul infect. I'm about to defect, until then I'll be writing rhymes and I'll be writing checks. Alright ladies, it's time to stand up. Come on fellas, take away your girl's crush. We gotta make moves, it's time to break through. It's the age of feminine, what you gon' do? Come on ladies, it's time to stand love our men, but the days of the female service way back when are over, my friend. Human rights we must defend. Breathe in the feminine energy, it's a yang trend. We must spread the positive vibe. Wanna put the aura, no need to hide. Love your neighbor, smile at a stranger, fuck your pride. We in a state of danger, the devil he has crept inside. But when the women gather, the world will heal. It's written in the holy books, come on, strike a deal that you won't worry about your looks, let's be real. See the beauty inside, you've been duped, break the seal. Holy prophecy, Nostradamus wrote it, see. It's a duty to return the mother to the tree. Water the root, it's an emergency. Age of Aquarius, bring them water, set them free. Alright ladies, it's time to stand up. Come on fellas, take away your girl's crush. We gotta make moves, it's time to break through. It's the age of feminine, what you gon' do? Come on ladies, it's time to stand up. Alright fellas, take away your girl's crush. We gotta make moves, it's time to break through. It's the age of feminine, what you gon' do?
Checking out Kellee Maize. Davey D coming back at you. We're talking with Kellee Maize, listening to the title track off her album, Age of Feminine. You know, one of the things I wanted to go back to you just as an artist, you know, you sing and you rap, you know, MC. Which is easier to write? You know, do you go into two different mindsets, or is it one and the same?
Well, usually what happens when I write is I have this sort of idea in my head that I want to address. It's either that way, I've got an idea, or I've got some kind of humming, you know, I'll be humming a tune. And to be honest, it usually just kind of comes out. I don't usually choose, am I going to write a song? Am I going to write a hook? Am I going to write a verse? But I think overall that it's easier for me to actually write rhymes because I can say more. You know, I think that, to be totally honest, one of the main reasons that I ended up really especially with this particular album, you know, leaning more towards writing rhymes and spitting lyrics on like a regular, was because I had so much I wanted to say, and I feel like I didn't even get to say half of what I wanted to. And when you sing, you know, you've got a lot less time.
You know, one of the criticisms, or one of the challenges, I should say, that female MCs run into is the perception that there's lack of diversity in their delivery and voice. You know, that's the thing I've always heard. And when you talk to people who work at labels, they're like, well, you know, Roxanne and Shantae sound the same as MC Lyte, so we only need one. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, you could put a Big Daddy Kane in the room, and he's different than a Soulja Boy, who's different than a 50 Cent, who's different than a Game, who's different. And I know there's a difference between a Queen Latifah and an MC Lyte and a Remy Ma, but still, to the average person, it's all the same. And I don't know, have you ever come across that challenge? And when you're writing, who's influencing you? Whose flows are you listening to? And you're like, man, I need to step it up and be just like him or her. You know?
Well, oh man, that's a tough question, because I think that I hear what you're saying. I think that I've noticed after I've been listening more recently, I just started kind of popping my album back in and critiquing again because I'm going back in the studio. And I've noticed that my live shows, I've been performing constantly, and I've been performing the material on my album. And when I perform it live, I've been doing so much more with my voice and kind of spitting it in a totally different way. And I do think that when I listen to my album the whole way through, I've been like, I got the same thing going on, and I gotta switch it up a little bit. So I mean, I think that makes sense, and I think that women, you know, unfortunately, we've just been kind of left out of the game in a lot of ways, and don't have a lot of role models out there. But as far as who influenced me in the past, I mean, Lauryn Hill was always a very, very very influential person to me. I think that when it comes down to it, her delivery and her style, you know, even with the newer Unplugged, which obviously isn't new anymore, but just, you know, she has a nice diverse way of delivery, and what she's talking about is just so important and influential. I also am really into Miss Dynamite.
Out of Britain.
Yeah, she is somebody that I always am talking about, always want to bring here. It's Pittsburgh anyway.
What about MIA?
I was just gonna say MIA is definitely off the chains. My girl,
she brings a lot of diversity in her delivery.
She does, exactly, and she my girl that sings with me, Sangha Trivedi, she is on 3 of my tracks. The track that you just heard, Age of Feminine, we definitely need to give her a shout out. She's singing the Hindi in the background. She kind of got me really into a lot of that kind of sound, and MIA obviously isn't totally based on that. She's Sri Lankan, but she does have this it's a more worldly, way of delivering. Her style has obviously got a lot more influence from all over the world, and I think that's really important.
Okay, we've been talking with Kellee Maize. We're going to get ready to wrap up, but there's a song off this album, talking about bringing the diversity of women. A lot of people don't know that in Pittsburgh, y'all got some heavy hitters. It's the home of Sam Sneed and the home of Mel-Man and, who work with Dr Dre, and it's a long, Paradise from X-Clan is there, and a lot of folks. Vanessa German, who kicks off and sets up your song Hawk, won, a slam championship not too long ago. Talk about this song Hawk, her setting it up, and how the female posse that you kind of roll with.
Yeah, Vanessa German is, to me, like a soul sister. She is by far one of the most talented performers, poets, spiritual goddess in my mind. She just got asked to be the pop tech. I don't know if you're familiar with that. If not, Google it. She was asked to be the poet of that event next to the R&B singer John Legend. She's really blown up, and her and I performed together very regularly. We did an all-female show together, which had some incredible performers, Laverne Hotep Baker and Rebecca Cooper. And also when the song actually starts, my girl Shelby Starr is singing the hook.
So you're not singing the hook, it's somebody else.
Yeah, it's Shelby Starr. Yeah, it says it on the album, just in case. Giving her her due. I lived with her for a long time. She's actually living in Philly now. She has an amazing voice. And I think maybe I might sing the background. I might sing the lower part in the hook. I don't even remember right now. But and then in the middle of the song, the 16 bars in the middle, that's Empress. She is a slam dunk Puerto Rican MC. She is not fucking around. She's actually moving to Atlanta very shortly to try to make waves down south. So it's a song that a lot of women can relate to. It's sort of like that lost love kind of song, but you still just have full respect and you want to wish someone well, and that's to me how all relationships should really end, even when the feelings are nasty at the end. Always just sending somebody off with pure intentions and hoping that all is well, and that's kind of what the song is.
So one of the things I got to ask you is that song, Hawk, is that based upon a true story?
Yes, it is.
We're going to take a listen to it. We'll be right back.
Please remember that I want the best for you. No matter what happens, you gotta hold it down and stay true to yourself. Your soul will never lead you astray. When the shit hits the fan, just stand, pray, and stay calm, because they don't love you like I do. Press through, stay true. Even though it hurts so bad, you wanna lose your mind and find a new hustle. You gotta stay on your grind. And remember, your light, your truth, your love, your soul, it's in your breath, in your heart, in your hands, and in your bones, and they can't take that away. Even though the day is long, you're stronger than any lie. The truth is inside of you, blooming new with every breath. And if you need me to remind you of who you are, I'll say, you are the way the sun shines over my shoulder in the noonday light. You are the first thing I think about in the morning and the last thing I think about at night. It's true. I want the very, very best for you.
I can't see you anymore. I am blinded. My eyes are on the floor. And like a hawk, you swoop into my dreams. I'm feeling duped cause I feel so extreme. Turning around and I'm wishing you were there. Wishing that I had the right words to show I care. Your power's warm and I'm searching for the heat. You got the drive that can lift me from my seat. When you are near, I'm feeling complete. Now I'm broken down and I'm needing your retreat.
How could this happen? I thought the search was done. Inside this battle that nobody is won. I'm so afraid that what giving up will mean. I am all alone, I've been running in this scene. Inside my movie that you no longer star. I need your arms, I can't feel them from afar. I'm cracking jokes, a fake hardy ha-ha. Jumps out the car, I wanna be right where you are.
I can't see you anymore. I am blinded, my eyes are on the floor. I can't see you anymore. I am blinded, my eyes are on the floor. Tell me where you are.
I hear you, ma. I hear your heart is broken. Life can make you feel so high or make you feel like broken. So even though you lost the love, you still preserve another. The love that comes within yourself, no matter what the weather. And I know it seemed like you and him were birds of the same feather. There's always different reasons why people come together. So even though you're feeling down, you're really blossoming. And even though you're teary now, I still can see a queen. And I see that you love your papi so much. And you probably toss and turn a night longer for his touch. Love gives you adrenaline, a woman rapid rush. Keep your memories alive, don't discord, don't you flush. Let it all out, don't you keep it on the hush. I'm here for you, I'm all ears if you have stuff to discuss. Pick your head up, mommy, you know I hate to see you crushed. Trust, destiny has showed your path, so don't you miss your bus. As my sister, see it as a must. Did you rise and materialize back into the strong queen that you are? And please don't let your sorrow dull the brightness in your star. Happiness is round the bend, even if it may seem far.
I can't see you anymore. I am blinded, my eyes are on the floor. I can't see you anymore. I am blinded, my eyes are on the floor. Tell me where you are. Tell me where you are.
But you gotta do what you gotta do. I can't hold you even after all that we've been through. This love is real and I pray for you, my king. And if my crown falls, I will still sing to the heavens. So much joy you can bring to this world where we both fight for everything. Seeking justice, we will hold it in our hearts. Someday our purpose will be filled, then we can start to build our life, but can we wait? This love is so easily turned to hate. Cause I am angry that you had to go. But I understand, and I hope you know that I will never love someone like this. This yin and yang, it's a balanced bliss, pushing me farther than I have ever been. The support of a God, and I'll be missing that grin.
I can't see you anymore. I am blinded, my eyes are on the floor. I can't see you anymore.
Davey D, listening to the heartfelt song Hawk. I know a lot of people have probably reacted to this song.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys
yeah.
sort of feedback?
Definitely. I mean, just people, I felt you on that one. It's obviously something that people can relate to. Again, it's just like, every time a relationship ends, you hope that you have that kind of like, I still wish you well, And most people do in the end, even if you have some hard feelings after a little while,
That's real talk right there. As we close out, a couple of things I wanted to just kind of square away. One, what you have in organization like Nocturnal and, Album Age of Feminine. And I started off by talking about all the other female movements that seem to be going on in Washington, D.C., not too far from here in Baltimore where we're at. You have Sisters on the Mic. You have Her Story out west, the Lily Tour and all these other things. Have you guys ever sat down in a room, linked together? Do you all cross paths? Do you all try to build? Or what sort of movement is happening to connect those dots?
Well, I think that there's definitely an interest from all angles. I mean, I know that when, through my travels with Nocturnal, we have been able to go into other cities, mostly within a couple-hour range of Pittsburgh, but it seems like most of the women are very interested in networking and opening up lines of communication. There's a festival out in Chicago. We connected with a girl who runs, it's called Estro Jam. We're hopefully going to do some work with them in the future. I have some, just people that I've been working with over the years that have moved around. My girl, Karin, just moved to Miami, so we're going to be doing some events with her. My girl, Sungya, who's on my album that's singing in the background, she's now in LA. And I definitely think that, it's important to connect the dots. And I hope in the next year or two, as we get, as Nocturnal becomes more of a force and we can actually be in other markets on a regular basis, that we can actually become a way to connect women to each other.
Okay, and what do you see on the horizon in terms of the city of Pittsburgh?
Oh, well, I mean, we've got a lot of rising stars right now. There's quite a few people just got signed. Pittsburgh Slam got signed to Def Jam, Wiz Khalifa to Warner Brothers. I think there's a lot of eyes on Pittsburgh. The talent is really, I just recently did an interview in a magazine saying the talent is super incredible and diverse. It's just that we need to connect with one another, just like everywhere else. We need to support each other. And I think that that's happening, and I think that it's just a matter of time before people really do, the industry overall starts paying attention to the city.
Right, I'm thinking like One Hood, Jasiri X, who did the Free Gina song. But also on the political tip, y'all are making moves. People like Kahari Mosley and all those folks seem to be, making their way on the political tip and all being young.
Mm-hmm, definitely, yeah. I think that there's a lot of energy in Pittsburgh. I mean, that's for sure. We're in our 250th anniversary year. 2008 marks our birthday, so it's definitely a lot of money going into the city, a lot of marketing going into the city, and people are taking notice for sure.
Well, we're going to leave out of here with a song that you started and didn't finish, the 412 off your album. That was annoying. When are you going to finish that song?
It is finished. I just haven't recorded it yet, but I'm going to record it just for you, because I know you were one of the only people that called me with sincere anger at the fact that I did not finish that song, so I will definitely be finishing it and making sure I record it.
Well, there you go. We've been talking to Kellee Maize. We appreciate you taking time out, and being part of the spotlighting of women doing it big in 2008. Be on the lookout for her. How can they get a hold of you? You got a number, iSpace page, Facebook. There's so many ways that people can get a hold of you now.
Yeah, well, you can check out my company at Nocturnal, NAKTURNAL.net. You can reach me through there, and also you can check out my MySpace page, myspace.com/KMAIZE music. And I'm not going to give out my phone number, I don't think. But
you don't want to give out your home number?
No, I'll give out my email address. It's Kellee@NAKTURNAL.net.
Well, there you go. We're out for now, everybody. Peace.
Together for the 4124 brothers. If you don't know, now you do. Center of change is true. What you heard? We a city of superheroes. It's Pittsburgh. Put your hands together for the 412. 4 rivers. If you don't know, now you do. Center of change, it's true what you heard. We a city of superheroes, it's Pittsburgh. That's right, not 3, we got 4. The Dalai Lama stopped on his spiritual tour and felt the ground shake. The man, no earthquake, he saw the X-date and how the cosmos shake. 2012 will be the year we gon' escape out from under the patriarchy cape. Sick of crossbones and poisonous water, and every day we wait, the world just get hotter. We gotta juggle this shit like a globetrotter. I know you thought about recycling, so what stopped ya? You know I had... Just stop the beat. I'm tired. They're gonna have to wait for the full length for that one.
WBRKD. Breakdown FM, where we break down news, views, and the hip-hop movement.
You are Caucasian, European American. So was it what, mostly black or Latino? Or was it all white?
All white. I mean, it was.
What's the racial dynamics like in a place like Pittsburgh?
In Pittsburgh, I don't really know the exact, demographical information, but I mean, it's very segregated. There's definitely, it's pretty much black and white. There's very small Latino population, at least as far as I know, very small Indian population, and it's, kind of very segregated in terms of the neighborhoods that are black, the neighborhoods that are white. And there's some city neighborhoods that are starting to kind of become more diverse, but it is pretty filthy segregated.
With you getting into hip-hop and music, was that unusual? Were you looked at like, well, what the hell is this white girl doing in this? Or was, had hip-hop diversified itself enough that it was just kind of the norm for you to be a part of whatever was going on?
No, I'm not at all. I mean, I grew up with a very strong sort of music background. My mom was really into funk and soul, 70s kind of music, and my dad was actually a country through and through country music listener, and I was always writing rhymes in my head. Like I had to sort of entertain myself a lot of the time growing up. I was always surrounded by boys, and I would be singing and writing rhymes in my head all the time. And once I sort of discovered hip-hop and that genre of, being able to express yourself in a way that is personal, I just was constantly making music for myself, really. It was like a way to kind of like deal with whatever was going on in my head. I was always like a super emotional person, and so when I came to Pittsburgh and really started expressing that, and I had performed my whole life, really. I was always up on stage singing and whatnot, and I was not really greeted with open arms at first. I got in with a lot of artists and musicians in Pittsburgh right off the bat that were making music, but it was definitely kind of like a crooked eye, like what's she doing? It was definitely an interest. But as soon as I'm coming from the heart, so I think that as soon as people just took a second to realize that I was really saying something that it wasn't just some superficial bullshit like I'm trying to get paid. There was something deep Alabama in between, and that definitely kind of describes my upbringing. I have two very loving parents, sort of abnormal to have parents that were so open-minded. I'm adopted, so they kind of, I think, felt that they always kind of had to keep my eyes sort of open and not ever, sort of accept everybody. It was definitely a different kind of upbringing given the area where I was from, not diverse at all. And I kind of came into this sense of myself through hip-hop, actually, because I learned a lot about the world and about, the ills of the world through listening to hip-hop. And I fell in love with Pittsburgh. I went there when I was 16. My family, or my boyfriend's family was living there at the time, and fell in love with the city and came to Pitt. Went there for 4 years, and had plans to. I was always performing, and I had plans to be a promoter and perform. Go to New York. Wanted to go somewhere even bigger, and I just couldn't leave the Steel City. It was like a magnet. Every time I, had a big idea to go, I just couldn't get out. I couldn't leave.
Now, you said earlier that your upbringing, you lived in a neighborhood and it wasn't all that diverse.
Sure.
Well, let's take a listen to a song off your album, Major Feminine. This deals with your life. Mm-hmm. What's the name of this song, and set us up as we get ready to listen to it.
Okay. Well, I guess Story of Me would be the chosen one. That's sort of, I guess, the autobiographical track. It's really kind of an explanation, really, in a lot of ways, because I think that I can be very easily misunderstood. I'm out here, I'm a promoter. I run my own company, an all-female company, and I do have a background that most people, when I moved to Pittsburgh, not only was it like, who's this white girl making rap music, but it was also sort of like, who's this girl who's not even from Pittsburgh? I got a lot of that, and I think it was important for me to just kind of let people know that it doesn't matter where you're from. It's about what you're doing and where you're at and where you're headed and what you believe. And so it's a way for me to kind of let people know where I'm coming from. The misconceptions that have sort of followed me, I'm just trying to let people know what the real deal is.
Here it is, Story of Me. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Breakdown FM, where ladies don't strip, they ride first class.
Can you relate to a sister dope enough to make you holler and scream? What the deal, yo? This is your girl, Queen Latifah, original flavor unit, Jersey's finest. Where else you gonna get the hottest sounds around?
Breakdown FM.
Davey D hanging out with you this afternoon, and we are in the lovely city of Baltimore. We are talking to somebody who is doing it real big out on the East Coast. She is from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We know her, we love her. Her name is Kellee Maize, and she is one of the people we want to spotlight as we spotlight women who are doing it big in 2008. Kellee Maize, of course, has a new album out called Age of Feminine, but she's much more than just an album. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. Let's kind of introduce yourself to people listening. I know in the city of Pittsburgh we mentioned Kellee Maize's name, people know you. But in other places it might be who? Kellee who? So let's kind of take them on a little journey. How long have you been in the game, and what are some of the things that highlight what you're about?
All right. Well, I grew up in the center of Pennsylvania, sort of nondescript area, the middle of Pennsylvania. They say, there's Pittsburgh and there's Philadelphia and sort of